We have created a slide which teaches a student what a Terry stop is by presenting a definition and a couple of examples. But we would now like to make this slide, this learning event, interactive. The way we will make a slide interactive is to introduce the notion of animation. But before we can do much with animation, we need to know what's on the screen. So if we go to the Home tab and come over here to Editing and come down here to Select, and then we come down here to a thing called Selection Pane, that will list all of the objects that are currently on the screen. Now I find it a little confusing when they're called text box 1 and text box 2. So I want to know what they are. So I want to first know, I want to label this button. So instead of rounded rectangle, I'm going to say this is the why no button, and I'll get rid of this part here. I'm going to label this button as the why yes button. Then I'm going to label this text box down here as the no why, and I'm going to label this text here, this box, as the yes why. And I think that will make it a little easier for us to actually use these. Now I'm not going to worry about the pictures or the other text boxes on the screen. This is obviously picture 3, picture 4, this is text box 2, this is text box 1, but we're not going to manipulate those, so we don't really need to relabel those. Alright, now let's close the selection pane. Now what I want to have happen is I want this explanation to appear when the student clicks on the button above. So to do that, I go to Animation, I say Add an Animation, and here you can see I've got all kinds of things, ways to make it enter. Below that are some emphasis, and below that, which you can't see, are some exits. I'm just going to be simple. I just want it to appear. And when do I want it to appear? I want it to appear when the student clicks on the button. So I'm going to say I want it to appear on a trigger. I want it to triggered when they click the button. So I'm going to be triggered on the click of the why no button. Alright, now I want to do the same thing here. I'm going to take this text box, I want it to appear, and I want it to appear when it's triggered on the click of the why yes button. Alright, now we've created some animation. So now when I go to the slideshow, which is here, I went to the slideshow mode. Now you can see the explanations are gone. And when I click on this button, that explanation appears. When I click on this button, that explanation appears. So we have now created a simple interactive slide that teaches what a Terry stop is. I would like to add some additional information about animations. I'm going to return to the editing mode by pressing the Escape key. Now we're in the editing mode, and I'm going to go up here to Animations, and I'm going to click on this thing that says Animation Pane. And what this does is put up a list here of all the animations that we've created. Now in this list we'll see it says Trigger. If I press the Why No button, then it will trigger this text box which we enabled No Why. And if I push the Why Yes button, this will trigger the text box which we called Why Yes. So basically it tells us what happens, and we can actually manipulate the animations from this pane. But I wanted you to see that pane, and we'll look at it again when we get into animations further. Alright, so now we've created this slide. If we go here to the presentation mode, the why explanations are gone. If I click on this button, it appears. If I click on this button, the explanation appears. So we now have created an interactive slide that teaches the student what a Terry stop is and provides an example and a non-example along with some guidance explaining why it is not an example and why it is an example. In the next slides we will learn how to create a template for this presentation.